In a world where everyone is desperately searching for strength outside themselves, you've forgotten the one truth that could reshape your entire destiny. The greatest power you will ever hold is the one you keep ignoring inside your own mind. Not the power of fame, not the power of money, not the power of people, but the silent, hidden, unstoppable power that has been sitting inside you since the day you were born. A power that can change your emotions, your reality, your habits, your confidence, your future instantly if you finally decide to claim it. Most people spend their whole life waiting for someone to save them, someone to guide them, someone to give them permission to rise. But what if I told you that the only permission you ever needed was already inside you? What if I told you that the version of you who is confident, disciplined, calm, focused, and unbreakable is not something you need to find, but something you need to activate? Today, we uncover the hidden side of your mind, the side that can transform everything the moment you finally choose to use it. 1. You possess an inner authority you never learned to trust. Every person is born with an inner authority, an inner compass that points toward what feels right, what feels wrong, and what aligns with the truth of your soul. This voice is quiet but powerful, gentle but firm, soft but unmistakably wise. It is the voice inside you that whispers, "This path feels right," even when you can't explain why. It is the same voice that warns you when something is draining your energy or pulling you away from who you are meant to become. But from a very young age, the world trained you not to trust this voice. Before you even knew who you were inside, the world began shaping you from the outside. Teachers told you who you should be based on grades, numbers, and comparison. Family told you what they expect from you, sometimes projecting their own fears and limitations onto your future. Society flooded you with rules about success, beauty, confidence, and worthiness before you had the chance to discover what truly matters to you. Slowly, your inner authority became buried under layers of noise, opinions, judgments, expectations, and fears that never belonged to you. Instead of asking yourself, "What do I truly want?" you learned to ask, "What will they think of me?" Instead of making decisions based on your inner truth, you started seeking permission. You waited for approval before taking action. You needed validation before believing in your ideas. You became used to shrinking your inner voice so the outside world could feel comfortable. And without noticing it, you lost touch with your own center. Buddhism teaches that the root of suffering is losing connection with the self, losing connection with the calm, grounded awareness that guides you from within. When you ignore your inner authority, something inside you feels unsettled. You feel out of alignment. You feel like you're living someone else's life. You feel heavy without understanding why, because you are carrying expectations that do not match your soul. But here is the truth. Your inner voice never left you. It was never destroyed, never lost, never broken. It simply became quiet because you stopped turning toward it. Your mind already knows the answers you keep chasing in other people. It knows when a relationship is draining your spirit, even when your heart insists on staying. It knows when a job or lifestyle no longer fits the real you, even when you're afraid to let go. It knows when your soul feels suffocated, even when you pretend everything is fine. Your inner authority is not confused, you are just disconnected from it. The moment you choose to trust this inner voice again, your life begins to change in ways that feel natural, peaceful, and deeply aligned. Because for the first time, your decisions come from your truth, not from pressure, fear, or expectation. The day you begin trusting your inner authority is the day you stop living for the world and start living for yourself. It is the day your life stops belonging to people's opinions and starts belonging to your purpose. And once you reclaim that power, you will wonder why you ever handed it away. 2. Your mind has a hidden switch that changes your reality instantly. There is a hidden power inside you that most people never learn to use, a mental switch that can shift the direction of your entire life in a single moment. People often think transformation is slow, painful, and complicated. They convince themselves that change requires perfect timing, motivation, or some dramatic event from the outside. But the truth is far simpler and far more powerful. The mind changes the second you decide to change. Not next week, not next month, not when circumstances improve. The shift happens internally, instantly, in the moment you say, "I am done living like this. This inner switch is activated when you make a decision so clear, so firm, and so non-negotiable that your old habits, your old identity, and your old patterns no longer have power over you. It is the moment you stop arguing with your weaknesses. It is the moment you stop repeating excuses you've been telling yourself for years. It is the moment your new self becomes louder than your old self. You might not realize it, but many of the struggles you face come from indecision standing between who you are and who you want to be, switching back and forth, never fully choosing either side. But once your mind commits, truly commits, everything shifts. The way you think becomes sharper. The way you act becomes cleaner. The way you show up becomes stronger. Your habits begin to follow your new identity without force, because the mind always aligns with the identity you choose. If you decide you're disciplined, your actions begin matching discipline. If you decide you're worthy, your standards rise automatically. If you decide you're done with certain behaviors or people, your energy starts moving in a new direction without hesitation. This is the hidden switch most people never flip, because they wait for the world to give them permission. They wait for confidence. They wait for motivation. They wait for the right time. But the universe doesn't respond to waiting, it responds to decisions. When you finally shift your identity internally, the world is forced to shift around you. Opportunities you ignored suddenly become visible. Strengths you buried suddenly rise. People who once controlled your spirit lose their power. Fear weakens. Clarity grows. You begin moving through life with a sense of inner certainty that cannot be shaken by anything outside you. Nothing external has to change first. Your environment, your relationships, your circumstances, none of them need to move before you do. The transformation begins the moment you decide to stop negotiating with your old self and fully step into the new one. This internal switch is the gateway to the life you truly want. It is the moment you claim your potential, the moment you take responsibility for the direction of your mind, and the moment you stop allowing fear, insecurity, or doubt to decide your path. The power is already inside you. It always has been. The only question now is whether you will choose to activate it. 3. You are not weak. You are distracted from your power. Most people spend their entire lives believing they are weak, when in reality, they are simply pulled in too many directions to feel their own strength. Weakness is not your natural state, distraction is. Your mind is powerful, but it cannot be powerful when it is scattered across 100 invisible battles that drain your energy day after day. You feel tired not because you lack strength, but because your strength is constantly being poured into things that do not build you. You feel lost not because you lack purpose, but because your attention is divided between noise, people, emotions, memories, and pressures that keep you mentally exhausted. When your focus is scattered, even a strong person feels fragile. But when your focus is reclaimed, even a fragile person becomes unstoppable. Every time you allow negative people into your life, your emotional energy leaks. Every time you overthink situations you cannot change, your mental clarity fades. Every time you worry about who likes you or who criticizes you, your inner confidence weakens. Every time you try to impress people who don't even notice your value, your spirit gets used up in ways that bring you nothing. You are not weak. Your energy is simply being spent on things that do not grow you, protect you, or elevate you. This is why even disciplined people feel drained when they are surrounded by the wrong environment, the wrong relationships, or the wrong habits. Your power does not disappear, it gets misplaced. Buddhism teaches that suffering increases when the mind becomes entangled in things outside your control. The more your mind chases approval, comparison, drama, fear, and insecurity, the more disconnected you become from the strength inside you. Your power is not gone. It is buried under layers of noise that keep you distracted from your true capacity. Imagine a smartphone with incredible processing power, but with 50 apps running in the background, it slows down, not because it is weak, but because its resources are scattered. The same is true for you. When your attention is divided, your life becomes heavy. When your energy is wasted, your confidence becomes uncertain. When your mind is overwhelmed, your spirit begins to shrink. But none of that is your true nature. Your nature is powerful, sharp, capable, resilient, and deeply aligned once you remove the distractions that weaken you. The moment you redirect your attention toward yourself, everything begins to shift. When you stop giving energy to what drains you, your strength naturally rises. When you stop overthinking what you cannot control, your mind becomes clear. When you stop seeking validation, your confidence becomes self-generated. When you stop chasing people, your worth becomes rooted in yourself. Your power grows wherever your attention goes. So the real transformation begins when you ask yourself, where is my energy going? Who am I giving it to? What thoughts are consuming it? What habits are stealing it? What emotions are draining it? Once you reclaim your attention piece by piece, moment by moment, you will feel your natural strength return. Not because you became stronger, but because you finally stopped weakening yourself with distractions that never served your purpose. Your power was always there. Now, it's time to take it back. 4. Your past does not chain you. Your identification with it does. Your past is not the prison you think it is. It is not the force that holds you down, nor the chain wrapped around your potential. What truly weighs you down is the identity you built around your past, an identity made of old memories, old wounds, old failures, and old versions of yourself that no longer exist except in your mind. You carry your past not because it is still happening, but because you keep replaying it, retelling it, and reliving it in your thoughts every day. You repeat the same hurtful story until the story becomes your personality. You let the mistakes you made define who you believe you are. You let the people who hurt you decide how you see yourself. You let the failures you experienced convince you that you are not capable of more. But none of these things reflect your real self. They only reflect the time when you didn't know better, didn't understand your worth, and didn't yet have the strength you have today. Buddhism teaches that the self is not fixed. It is a process, always changing, always evolving, always renewing itself with every breath. You are not the same person you were last year, last month, or even yesterday. Yet you continue to carry identities that belong to those older versions of you, as if you owe loyalty to the person you used to be. You cling to old pains because they feel familiar. You cling to old patterns because they feel safe. You cling to old limitations because letting them go means stepping into an unfamiliar version of yourself, one that is stronger, freer, and more responsible for your own destiny. But the moment you stop identifying with your past, the chains fall away effortlessly. The past has no power without your attachment to it. A memory cannot stop your future unless you choose to give it authority. You must understand something deeply. You are not broken because of what happened. You are strong because you survived what happened. You are not damaged. You are growing. You are not behind. You are becoming. Your past taught you lessons, shaped your wisdom, and built your resilience, but it does not define your worth or your future. Every painful moment you experienced was a moment that prepared you for a future where you no longer tolerate what once hurt you. Every failure carved out a deeper understanding of how to rise. Every disappointment guided you towards something better. But when you cling to these moments and let them shape your identity, you shrink yourself to fit a story that no longer matches your strength. The greatest freedom you will ever feel is the moment you stop saying, "This is who I am because of my past," and start saying, "This is who I am because of my choices today." Your past is only a chapter. It is not the whole book. It is a teacher, not a master. It is a lesson, not a life sentence. You can release the identity built on pain and choose the identity built on growth. You can stop repeating the same story and start writing a new one. When you let go of who you were, you make room for who you can become. And that version of you, the one waiting on the other side of your old story, is far stronger, wiser, and more powerful than anything your past could ever limit. 5. Your thoughts become reality faster than you realize. Most people underestimate the extraordinary power of the thoughts they repeat every day. They believe thoughts are harmless, temporary, or just mental noise, but in reality, every thought you entertain plants a seed inside your mind. And whatever you plant eventually takes shape in your actions, your beliefs, your expectations, and your destiny. Your mind is constantly shaping your reality, not dramatically, not instantly in the external world, but in the small, subtle shifts inside you that eventually change everything around you. When you constantly think you are not enough, your mind begins filtering your life through that belief. You start noticing evidence that proves your worthlessness, even when none truly exists. You avoid opportunities because you assume you will fail. You shrink your voice because you assume you don't matter. You lower your standards because you believe you don't deserve better. And slowly, your life begins to mirror the narrative you keep repeating to yourself, not because it's true, but because you have allowed your thoughts to shape your identity. The mind is always listening to the messages you send it. When you repeat negative thoughts, your mind does not question them. It accepts them as truth and begins creating emotional, behavioral, and physical responses that align with what you believe. If you think you are weak, your mind weakens your confidence. If you think you cannot change, your mind closes the doors you might have walked through. If you think your life will never improve, your mind numbs your motivation and blinds you to new opportunities. But the opposite is also true. If you begin telling yourself that growth is possible, your mind becomes more open to challenges. If you tell yourself you are capable, your mind helps you find strength you didn't know you had. If you repeat that you deserve peace, your mind starts guiding you toward environments that protect your spirit. Your thoughts are not just words, they are blueprints your mind tries to build into your life. Buddhism teaches that the mind creates the world you experience, not literally, but through perception, interpretation, and intention. Two people can live the same life, but experience completely different realities based on how they think. One sees obstacles everywhere because their thoughts are shaped by fear. The other sees possibilities everywhere because their thoughts are shaped by hope. Nothing in the external world changed. The difference lies entirely in the mind. This is why certain people rise from painful circumstances while others collapse under the same weight. The difference is not luck, destiny, or intelligence. The difference is the inner story they choose to repeat. The danger of negative thoughts is not their existence, but their repetition. A single negative thought can pass like a cloud, but a negative thought repeated becomes a belief, and a belief becomes a pattern, and a pattern becomes a personality, and a personality becomes a life story. Your reality is not the result of what you experience. It is the result of what you repeatedly think about what you experience. You might be living a smaller life than you are capable of simply because your thoughts have convinced you that you cannot handle a bigger one. Your greatest inner transformation begins with the courage to choose new thoughts. Thoughts that lift rather than limit. Thoughts that guide rather than sabotage. Thoughts that support your growth instead of repeating your fears. You do not have to feel strong to think strong. You do not need confidence to speak confidence. The mind learns through repetition, and whatever you repeat, you become. Your thoughts are not just reflections of your life, they are instructions for your life. So choose them with intention, and you will watch your reality transform in ways that feel impossible until they become your new normal. 6. Your emotions are not the enemy. Your reactions are. Most people grow up believing that emotions themselves are the problem, that feeling anger means you are unstable, feeling sadness means you are weak, feeling fear means you are failing, and feeling insecurity means something is wrong with you. But emotions are not your enemy. They are signals, messengers, and mirrors that reflect what is happening inside your inner world. Buddhism teaches that emotions are like weather. They come, they go, they rise, they fall, and none of them stay forever. You only suffer when you cling to an emotion or try to fight it instead of understanding it. The real enemy is not the emotion, but the reaction that follows when you lose your center. When anger rises and you explode, it is not the anger itself, it is your reaction. When sadness comes and you let it control your decisions, it is not the sadness, it is your reaction. When fear whispers and you allow it to dictate your life, the problem is not the fear, it is the authority you give it. Emotions only hurt you when you let them take the driver's seat. Your emotions cannot harm you if you learn to observe them without becoming them. Imagine sitting near a river and watching leaves float by. Each leaf is an emotion: anger, jealousy, love, insecurity, joy, anxiety, hope. They pass, they change, they move, they never stay. But you suffer when you jump into the river and let the current sweep you away. When you identify with your emotions, you drown in them. When you observe your emotions, you master them. Anger can pass without becoming destructive. Sadness can pass without breaking your spirit. Fear can pass without shrinking your life. Insecurity can pass without defining your worth. You do not have to fight your emotions. You only have to learn not to obey them. The reason so many people feel emotionally overwhelmed is because they believe emotions should be controlled, suppressed, or hidden. But emotions gain power when you resist them. The more you fight a feeling, the stronger it becomes. The more you deny it, the louder it gets. The more you suppress it, the deeper it roots itself inside you. Emotional mastery does not come from shutting down your feelings. It comes from consciously sitting with them, naming them, understanding them, and letting them pass naturally. When you allow an emotion to exist without instantly reacting, something powerful happens. You create space between the emotion and the response. In that space lies freedom, clarity, and peace. Every emotion you have ever felt is a part of being human. Fear is a sign that you are stepping into something unfamiliar. Sadness is a sign that something mattered to you. Anger is a sign that your boundaries were crossed. Anxiety is a sign that your mind is overloaded. Even insecurity is a sign that you care about how you show up in the world. Nothing about these emotions is wrong. They become destructive only when you let them dictate your actions instead of guiding your awareness. When you learn to hold your emotions with softness instead of judgment, they lose their power to control your life. Imagine the strength of a mind that feels everything but is controlled by nothing. A mind that experiences storms but stands still at its center. A mind that can acknowledge fear without running from it, sit with sadness without collapsing under it, and allow anger to rise without letting it define the moment. This is emotional mastery, not the absence of emotion, but the ability to respond with awareness, patience, and clarity. When you stop letting emotions trigger your reactions and start letting them teach you about yourself, you rise to a level of inner peace that nothing outside you can shake. Your emotions do not make you weak. Your reactions are the only thing you need to master. 7. The strongest version of you is already inside you, waiting for permission to rise. There is a version of you that you have glimpsed only in rare moments, a version of you that feels calm under pressure, confident without needing validation, disciplined without forcing it, peaceful without running away from life, and powerful without ever raising their voice. This version of you is not a fantasy. It is not an invention of your imagination. It is not something you need to search for outside yourself. It is your true self, buried under layers of doubt, fear, insecurity, conditioning, and hesitation. Deep inside you, there exists a self that already knows how to rise above negativity, how to detach from noise, how to set boundaries, how to heal from pain, and how to walk with purpose. But this version of you stays hidden because you have spent years telling yourself stories that keep it asleep. Stories like, "I'm not ready," "I'm not good enough," "I'm too damaged," "I'm too late," "I'm too weak," "I can't change." These stories became cages not because they were true, but because you repeated them so many times that they began to feel like your identity. Buddhism teaches that the self is not fixed. You are constantly evolving, constantly shedding old versions of yourself, constantly being reborn through every decision, every realization, every moment of awareness. The strongest version of you is not someone you must create. It is someone you must uncover. The strength you admire in others is not something they were born with. It is something they awakened by choosing to stop negotiating with their limitations. You have that same power waiting inside you, but it will not rise until you allow it to. Strength is not activated by chance. It is activated by choice. And the moment you say, "I am done living small," something shifts inside you. The moment you decide, "I deserve a better life," your energy begins to transform. The moment you declare, "I will no longer betray myself," your inner power starts to surface. Change does not happen when you feel ready. It happens when you decide you have waited long enough. The reason you haven't met your strongest self yet is not because you lack potential, but because you have been protecting the comfort of your old self. Growth requires discomfort. Strength requires letting go. Confidence requires stepping into spaces where your fear tries to hold you back. The strongest version of you is not created through perfect circumstances. It emerges when you stop allowing fear to decide the direction of your life. This powerful version of you shows up the moment you stop shrinking yourself to fit into people's expectations. It rises the moment you stop apologizing for wanting more. It becomes visible the moment you stop explaining your worth to people who cannot see it. You become your strongest self when you finally choose to live for yourself instead of living for approval, validation, or acceptance. Inside you is a version of yourself who is unbothered by noise, untouched by insecurity, and unmoved by negativity. A version who makes decisions based on clarity, not fear. A version who walks away from anything that disturbs their peace. A version who trusts their own intuition more than the opinions of the world. A version who knows that growth is not a race. It is a lifelong unfolding of your true potential. This version of you is waiting patiently, quietly, strongly for the moment you step out of your old identity and claim the life that has always been meant for you. And when you finally allow that version to rise, everything in your life begins to shift. Your relationships, your habits, your energy, your mindset, your goals, your peace, your purpose. Because the world reflects the person you become. And once you become your strongest self, the world can no longer treat you like your weakest self. 8. Your life changes the moment you stop seeking external permission. One of the greatest reasons people stay stuck, unhappy, or unfulfilled is because they spend their entire lives waiting for someone to believe in them, waiting for someone to validate their choices, waiting for someone to approve their dreams, waiting for the world to give them a sign that it is finally okay to become who they were meant to be. But the painful truth is that the world will never give you that permission. People are too busy fighting their own battles, dealing with their own insecurities, and carrying their own fears to give you the approval you keep begging for. And even if someone gives you permission today, you will crave it again tomorrow, because the approval you depend on becomes a cage that grows stronger each time you obey it. External permission will always keep you small, because the world cannot see the full power that lives inside you. Only you can. You must understand that nobody understands your inner calling the way you do. Nobody feels your purpose the way you feel it. Nobody sees your vision as clearly as your own soul does. That is why waiting for external approval will only delay your destiny. People will always project their fears onto your dreams. They will tell you what is realistic based on their limited perspective, not yours. They will warn you against risks because they are terrified of taking them themselves. They will call your dreams too big, too unrealistic, too risky, or too ambitious. Not because they know your limits, but because they have accepted their own. And if you allow their fears to become the boundaries of your life, you will never grow beyond the size of someone else's comfort zone. The moment your life begins to shift is the moment you realize this truth. Nobody is coming to choose you, guide you, save you, approve you, or push you. You must choose yourself. When you stop seeking permission, something powerful awakens inside you. You stop explaining yourself to people who will never understand you. You stop shrinking into rooms that cannot contain your potential. You stop asking for approval from people who have never built anything meaningful for themselves. You stop apologizing for wanting more than what you were born into. You stop living inside someone else's imagination. And for the first time, you begin trusting your own instincts, your own vision, your own timing, and your own path. Buddhism teaches that liberation begins when you stop seeking outside what can only be found inside. Inner freedom comes the moment you realize that your journey is entirely in your hands. You have the power to change direction. You have the power to stop repeating old patterns. You have the power to walk away from anything that suppresses your growth. You have the power to become the person your soul has been asking you to become for years. The strongest form of transformation is when you give yourself permission to rise. Not someday, not when you feel ready, not when life becomes perfect, but right now. And when you finally choose yourself, life begins to open in ways you never imagined. Opportunities that once seemed impossible start appearing because your energy matches your belief. Relationships shift because you no longer tolerate disrespect. Fear loses its grip because you are no longer asking it for guidance. Your identity expands because it is no longer trapped under the weight of other people's expectations. The external world begins to respect you because you finally stopped seeking its permission and started walking with inner certainty. When you choose yourself, the universe mirrors that choice. Your path becomes clearer, your mind becomes lighter, your spirit becomes stronger, and your life begins moving in the direction it was meant to move all along. Every part of your life begins to transform the moment you finally turn inward and reclaim the power you have been giving away without realizing it. For years, you searched outside yourself for strength, direction, clarity, confidence, and peace, believing that someone else, somewhere else, somehow held the key to your freedom. But the truth you have uncovered through these lessons is that the very power you were chasing has always lived inside you. Your inner authority was never broken, it was ignored. Your hidden switch for transformation was never missing, it was simply waiting for your decision. Your strength was never gone, you were just too distracted to feel it. Your past was never a cage, you were the one holding its door closed. Your thoughts were never meaningless, they were shaping your reality with every repetition. Your emotions were never the problem, it was the reactions that turned them into suffering. And the strongest version of you was never far away, it was sleeping beneath layers of doubt, hesitation, and fear. When you realize that everything you need already exists within you, a profound shift happens. You stop chasing external validation because you no longer need the world to confirm what you already know. You stop waiting for permission because you understand that your path belongs to you alone. You stop running from your emotions because you finally see them as teachers, not threats. You stop repeating the same painful stories from your past because you understand they are chapters, not the whole book. You stop seeing yourself as weak because you now recognize how much of your energy was wasted on people, habits, and thoughts that never deserved it. You stop doubting your intuition because you finally hear how clearly it speaks when the noise fades. Your transformation does not begin with external achievements. It begins the moment you choose yourself, the moment you decide that your inner peace matters more than pleasing others, the moment you choose growth over comfort, clarity over confusion, discipline over excuses, and purpose over fear. That is the moment your life stops being a reaction to external forces and becomes an intentional creation built from your awareness, your choices, your strength, and your truth. You are not here to live an ordinary life, shaped by the expectations of others. You are here to rise into the fullest expression of who you truly are, calm, aware, disciplined, powerful, and deeply aligned with your inner self. The hidden side of your mind was never meant to stay hidden. It was meant to be awakened. And now that you have seen it, now that you have touched that inner power, you can never go back to the version of you that lived small, unsure, and disconnected, because you now understand something that many people never discover in their entire lifetime. The power you were waiting for was always yours. Your mind is not your enemy. Your emotions are not your weakness. Your past is not your identity. Your doubts are not the truth. You are stronger, wiser, and more capable than the world ever taught you to believe. And as you walk forward, remember this: the only person who must believe in your transformation is you, because once you claim the power within you, nothing outside you can take it away. This is where your true life begins, not when the world changes, but when you do.